Shalom and welcome back. I know, for me, it was just a matter of seconds. For you, it's probably a couple of days. Yes, I am sitting in the same spot, same shirt. I am making these videos back to back because I am wanting to get them started, to get them, not all of them posted at the same time, but to space them out to give me time to work on my next lessons and everything. And I'm trying, even in this being the third video, I'm trying to relax a little bit more into it and give more meat and less talk. Okay, so quick recap. We have so far discussed our father Abraham, the covenant that God made with him, his promise to make him a father of many nations. We have talked about his descendants being taken as slaves, or made into slaves in Egypt. Go back, read the story of Joseph, and understand that the story of Joseph is also a depiction of the Messiah. Okay, there's a whole lot of really good meat in that. And you will hear me say that quite often because I say that what I am trying to do is trim away the fat and get to the meat. That fat is all of the things that has been added onto or on top of the actual meat of Torah, the actual meat of God's Word. And that includes man-made tradition, man-made laws, wrong teachings. It includes a lot. So I am trying to trim all of that away and get back to what Scripture actually says, apart from doctrine and all of these things that we've had with us for over 1,000 years now. And a lot of people don't like that, and I get it. I was born and raised in a very strict Christian home, and there's a lot of what I am teaching in these that goes against what I was taught growing up, and that's okay, because we are not in a relationship with man. We are in a relationship with God. And being in a relationship with him, we have to grow in that relationship. We have to know who he is. If I am going to say that I am a Christian, or, I say I am a Messianic believer, I believe in the Messiah. If I am going to say that I believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then I need to, one, know who that God is, and who is this Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and why does it pertain to me? What does the Scriptures actually say? And that's what we're doing here. So we're talking about Abraham and the covenant and the promises that God, made with him. We've talked about the children of Israel, Jacob, who God changed his name to Israel. His children, his grandchildren, were taken were made slaves in Egypt, and the Messiah came and delivered them. God delivered them in the first Passover through many signs and wonders. He convinced the Egyptians that they should let his children go, and many of the Egyptians went with them, because they saw these signs, they saw these wonders. They got the picture that the God of the Hebrew people is in fact the God of all things, the creator of all things, Yahweh. And they followed with them, and many of them became a part of them. And I refer to that as the first grafting in. The first time, to my knowledge, that someone outside of the family lineage was brought in and treated as a natural born. So now we have this foundation, the laws have been given to Moses and the children of Israel, and they have now went from being a family unit to being a nation. They now have laws, they now have judges, they now have all of these things that comprise a nation. Okay, so they have entered the land. They have fought many battles to get to this point, and they begged God for a king, even though God was supposed to be their king. God would speak to his prophets, and those prophets and those judges would tell the children what they of Israel, the people of Israel, what they were supposed to do. But they wanted a king like the rest of the nations. So God chose for them a king. That king was King David. Now, King David, he absolutely had a heart for God. He was a warrior from a young age. He was a shepherd, but the things that he had to do protecting that flock, lions, bears, wolves, I mean, you name it. There was all sorts of animals that were far larger than him that he had to take care of. So when Goliath came along, this young man is standing there before this giant, and he's like, I've already taken care of the bear, I've already taken care of the lion, I'll take care of you too. And and God gave him the strength to do that. And God placed him as king over this nation. And he had his faults. He really had his faults, and you see that in the story where he had a woman's husband sent out to war, where he sent him to the front of the line where he shouldn't have been. He died, and there was consequences for the things that he did. And David's son, David had a passion for God. He wanted to build the temple for God, and God told him no, that his son was going to do that. And Solomon, the wisest king to ever rule over Israel, built the first temple, and he took Israel from where they were during the time of King David and expanded it. I mean, we don't even really know how far he expanded it. That there, in some circles, it is believed that he even had a trading route that would have led here to the United States, and that some of the native tribes in the United States are actually descended from the Hebrews that came over here, because in their beliefs there's a lot of similarities between the Native American religions and some of the traditions of the ancient Hebrew people. Very interesting topic to research. But he expanded Israel to the wealthiest that it had ever been, and unfortunately the wealthiest that it would ever be. I don't even believe that Israel today is as wealthy or as powerful as what it was during the time of Solomon. And I could be wrong. I mean, that is my opinion, but I mean, it is what I don't think that it is. Israel is a very strong, very powerful nation, and one that deserves the support that of every nation. They are God's chosen people. The Bible does say that God will bless those who bless them and curse those who curse them. and Israel as a nation has continued to fight for every scrap of land that they have. And we're not going to get into all of that. That's a whole another channel and led by somebody else, not me. But during the time of King David, King Solomon, for as wise as he was, he had a lot of problems, and one of them was his lust for women. He had 300 wives, 900 concubines. So you think of the number of children that just that one man could have had. Now you take that to every male in Israel, and you'll understand why I say that I believe that the majority of the earth's population is in some way, shape, or form related to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But because of his lust for women, he set up high places. He set up places for them to worship their false gods in Israel and in Jerusalem. Because of his sins against God, God told him that he was going to take the nation from him, not from him, but from his son, and that was done for David's sake. So Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, came into power, and he was absolutely brutal. There was a lot that his father put on the Hebrew people in order to get Israel to the point that they were. There was a lot of forced labor and everything else, and the people were crying out they were crying out for them to lessen the load. And Rehoboam went to the elders, the older counselors, and sought their advice, and they told him that he needed to take some of the burden off of the people. And he really didn't like what they had to say, so he went to his friends, his younger counselors, and they said, "Nah, you should make it harder. You should add more to them, get more money, make things bigger." And so he did. He put more onto to Israel, and they began to revolt. And at that point, God gave Jeroboam 10 tribes. Rehoboam, he gave the 1 tribe. Now, he was head of the tribe of Judah, so they got the half tribe of Benjamin. And the 10 the 10 other tribes went to the north. And so now you have Israel that was one nation. They were split into 2, the northern kingdom of Ephraim, the southern kingdom of Judah. Neither one of them did what God wanted them to do. God told Jeroboam that he would make him, king over the northern, over the 10 tribes of Israel, and they would continue to prosper if he would just follow him and do what what God asked. Jeroboam couldn't do that. Jeroboam began to sin just as bad as Solomon and Rehoboam and all the rest. A matter of fact, in the northern kingdom, they were forbidden from going to Jerusalem. They set up a separate place of worship, a separate day of worship. They began making their own customs, their own traditions, and separate from what Judah was doing. And we're going to find out more about what those sins were. But I brought this up because it's very much what the church has done today. We have changed the Sabbath from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday to Sunday. We have a new day of worship. We have new laws, new traditions, new everything. And we're going to get into that as well. Not in this video. Maybe in this video. Because I think I'm just going to keep on going. So instead of Israel and Judah, they continued to sin against God. Judah kept more to what God said, but over time, it got to be almost as bad as what the 10 northern tribes were doing. And because the northern tribes of Israel were, completely sinning against God, he had already warned them that he was going to scatter them. And he did. Assyria came in and laid siege to the northern kingdom of Israel and took them into Assyria and scattered them throughout the known world. Just gone. To this day, they are referred to as the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Now, there's rumors that over the years, Judah has kept track of them and they have an idea of where all of them's at. But the northern tribes have never came back home. Some will argue that they did in 1948 and they did after Judah had been taken captive into Babylon because of what they were doing. 70 years later, they were brought back. And you get the story of Hanukkah and the rededication of the temple. And it does say that some of the northern tribes came back, some, but not to the extent that God promised that they would come back, and not in the way that God promises that they will come back. 1948, when Israel became a nation, is the same way. Judah came back, and but as far as Ephraim is still scattered to the four corners of the earth. And I am going to say at this point, we are still here. We are still living in dispersion. We are still living in exile. We have not been brought back. And I know at this point I have made a lot of people very upset because I'm saying we, because I do consider myself an Ephraimite, because I am a Messianic follower. We become a part of Israel. Again, we are grafted into Israel. Ephraim is still scattered because we changed the laws of God. We changed the laws. We changed everything. We created a new place to worship. We created a new day to worship on. We created new feasts. We took these pagan cultures and mingled them in with our worship to God. And because of that, we were scattered to the four corners of the earth. And here we are doing the exact same thing. And we're going to get in. I'm going to get into that. And if you go to 1 Kings 11, you see where God tells him that the kingdom is going to be divided. If you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, and then over to 2 Kings 24 and 25, you see where the nation of Israel was divided into already divided into two nations. Israel, the northern kingdom of Ephraim, also known as Israel, and the southern kingdom of Judah. They're divided and taken into captivity. And you read why. You read why these things have happened. But God. I love that saying, but God. We are a very stupid people at times, but God promises a reunification. And I am going to have to leave it there for today. When I come back, or for now, when I come back, we are going to talk about that reunification and what that looks like. Until then,